What is the best leveling spec for hunters in Shadowlands and pre-patch? It is without a doubt Beast Mastery. Beast Mastery is the best spec, so I spoiled it for you, my friends. But before you run off into the woods and I will never see you again, please stick around because there is a lot more to say about this. Beast Mastery can be spec'd in a couple of subtle but different ways that change your playstyle a little bit. And it's worth talking to my fellow casuals, especially to people who are new to World of Warcraft or coming back to the game after a long break. I know a lot of you do. So there is a lot to be said about this, and this video is for you guys. This video is for beginners, this video is for casuals. Also, I'd like to say that we will talk about survival, we will talk about marksmanship a little bit. I'm not an expert, but I have an opinion about those specs, and I tried them in pre-patch, so there is something to be said to compare it to Beast Mastery. So that is the meat of this video that's coming your way in a second, after this intro. Also, if hunters happen to not be your class of choice for Shadowlands, that's cool. I will play 3 main classes in Shadowlands, as I've decided for myself right now. It is the Hunter, it is a Warlock, and it is the Demon Hunter, because they're all very casual friendly, very cool classes, fun to play, and easy, relatively easy. So you can, especially if you like this video and subscribe to the channel, show me that you're interested in this type of content. I will, at the moment, I'm planning to release 2 more videos, similar format, about the specs, best leveling specs for Demon Hunter, which again, we don't have that many there, but there are subtleties. And the Warlock, naturally. Warlock is a lot less clear, and I think will be also quite interesting for you. So hopefully you'll enjoy this one, and let me know that you do. If you do, subscribe, like the video, don't think that your vote doesn't matter. It always matters. I specifically pay attention to the community. I specifically want YouTube to know that you enjoy my videos, so that YouTube shows it to more people. So please hit that like button right now, and talk to me in the comments as you always do. With that being said, out of the way of lengthy intro, let's jump into talking about Hunter specs. Now, first of all, let's just define for ourselves what is a good or the best leveling spec, in my opinion. And today, once again, we are talking about hunters specifically. I don't talk abstractly, but I think these particulars will apply to any class choice. In my casual opinion, I think that the best leveling spec is something that gives you power early, that makes you feel very self-sustaining and not self-reliant, not reliant on anything else, including bandages, including having to have a rest, including having to be too mindful of how many actually adds, how many actually mobs you have pulled. In fact, a great leveling spec, or the best leveling spec, in my opinion, for any class, is the one who allows you to pull the most, who allows you to be a little bit reckless, a little bit impatient, and where you do not need to rely on things like crowd control. For example, rogues in some cases have to sap one target, hit them on the head, while they engage with other targets, just in order to handle the crowd, yeah? So, in my opinion, that's not a very good leveling spec, or class for that matter. So, Hunter, in general, Hunter is fantastic for handling those kind of situations that fit in my bill of what exactly is a great class for leveling, and with some choices given to us as far as what is a great spec for leveling. Now, Beast Mastery. Beast Mastery relies very, very heavily on beasts. It's a master of beasts. So Beast Mastery relies on having a lot of beasts summoned, and those beasts take the brunt of the onslaught of the enemy. There is always, you play Beastmaster well if you always make sure that your beast is in front of you, right? As obvious as it comes. Some other specs are a little bit more into kiting, tactical positioning, jumping around, all this kind of stuff. With Beast Mastery, if your pet is not in front of you, if it's not like enemy, pet, you, then you're doing it wrong. Plain and simple. That is what you need to understand. Even if you engaged with multiple enemies, and as you can see when you play a little bit more confidently, what I do is I sometimes pull multiple enemies, and then I position myself in such a way that my pet sort of rounds them all up. I make sure that my pet hits each one of them at the very least, and then I go once again to the outer periphery, I suppose, peripheral circle of where I stand as a player, and my pet takes care of the rest. One thing that is a slight limitation of Beast Mastery is that before you can confidently engage larger groups of enemies during leveling or whatever, you need Beast Cleave. Beast Cleave, unfortunately, is not something that is available to you straight away. If I remember correctly right now, because obviously I'm not leveling this guy right now, this footage, but if I remember correctly, Beast Mastery Beast Cleave opens up as a passive effect to you around level 30 plus, 35, 39 maybe. So it's quite a bit of time that you have to play as a Beastmaster, prioritizing single target engagements or double target engagements maximum, because they're not very hard to master. Yeah, pun intended. But before you start confidently rallying up such groups of mobs that I do here, and then relying on your beast to cleave, as soon as you multi-shot, the beast starts cleaving around. It means hitting multiple targets at the same time, therefore keeping their aggro, you know, making sure that they attack the beast, and while you heal the beast and continue contributing to DPS. So there are some particulars about how you play Beast Mastery. So Beast Mastery relies on beasts. Therefore, one of the hardest hitting abilities that Beast Mastery has is Kill Command. Kill Command needs to sit somewhere on your action bars where you are very confident and comfortable to reach out to it. I like specs that don't have too many highly impactful buttons that I can map, maybe up to 6 or 7. That is the maximum of what I ever map on my keypad, on your keyboard if you don't use a keypad, if you're only just getting into World of Warcraft. So Kill Command is the hardest hitting thing. It needs to be front and center of your rotation whenever it recharges. 6.3 seconds cooldown. You need to use that on the beasts. You get Kill Command straight away. That's what makes Beast Mastery an impactful, very straightforward, very beast-orientated leveling spec. I like that very much so as well. Barbed Shot is something that you need to use on cooldown as well. It comes pretty quickly. I do not know if you get Barbed Shot straight away as a Beastmaster or if you get it a tiny bit later, but it certainly doesn't take you that long to wait for getting it in the game as a newly leveling hunter, compared to, say, Beast Cleave. You certainly get it much sooner, because it's a very, very central thing. So it's a shot, it causes a bleed effect, and it also, most importantly, sends your beast, sends your pet into a frenzy, speeding up their attack. And you want that attack to be sped up as frequently, well, hopefully always, if you can manage to track that, and if you can manage to keep an eye on that, because attack speed increased by 30% is a massive increase. Your beast will just eat through targets, and that is what you want to do. Now, Cobra Shot is just a filler. It's not something that you even get definitely straight away as a brand new Beastmaster. You get it a little bit later. The best benefit, it's a filler, what we call a filler shot. It means that you do it whenever you have nothing better to do, whenever your Kill Command is not available, whenever your Barbed Shot does not need to be shot, or it's on cooldown on a 10-second recharge. And Cobra Shot reduces the cooldown on Kill Command, which is a massive, obviously, contributor to your DPS. That is why I keep emphasizing that. And Exotic Beast is something that everyone loves and everyone knows, but it's once again not something that's available to Beastmasters straight up when you just roll a brand new one. It's something that you get a lot later, like around level 40 or something, so quite a bit later. I think 39 actually, if I'm not mistaken, horribly. And it is something that allows you to tame those cool ones, like my Steel Tusk Elec, like the Hydras, like the, you know, like Chimeras, something like it allows you to tame beasts with cool abilities, which makes Beastmaster not just a great spec for leveling, like per se, not for efficiency, but more for the enjoyment. Now, very quickly on Beast Mastery talents. So what would I actually suggest? I talked to you about keybinds, I talked to you about general premise that I don't like too many buttons, and I recommend that if you're anywhere similar to me, casual, similar to myself, I recommend that you choose the reduction of buttons, with one little exception that I'm going to show you in a second. So let's take a look at the recommended talent setup that I would play with. Close PvP talents, because it's not a PvP guide. I personally play with Animal Companion. I want as passive as possible play for my leveling or as a Beastmaster always, and it always works very, very well. I do not want an extra button to summon a dire beast. I would much rather play with a second pet with me. Killer Instinct is not too bad. Obviously, it increases Kill Command's damage massively against enemies below 35% health, but then they are dead anyway. I would much rather deal with the majority of that percentage with some other benefit, as opposed to wait until the last hitting moments kind of under the 35%. One with the pack is a passive ability for your passive wild call to reset the cooldown on the Barbed Shot. Barbed Shot is obviously something that's allowing us to keep the haste up, so we want that all the time. So this is a very nice passive kind of that allows us to do that kind of stuff. And Wild Call, the passive of it is that auto shot critical strikes, which won't happen very often, but they will happen. It also has a chance to reset the cooldown on Barbed Shot. So that's not too bad. Camouflage, I will talk about this in Survival when we talk about Survival in a few minutes. Now this is where the exception comes in play. I said to you, I don't like too many buttons. I would always recommend against buttons in the leveling specs, yeah? And generally in playing specs. So possibly I'd go for Thrill of the Hunt if you would like one extra button. And I sometimes do. I have multiple hunters. I level them all in Beast Mastery, okay? And I sometimes go for Thrill of the Hunt, which lets Barbed Shot increase your critical strike chance. Great. Great. However, Murder of Crows is a fantastic, hard-hitting talent, very hard-hitting talent for us, for Beastmasters, that resets if the enemy dies. So you throw it on an enemy, especially on a softer enemy, those crows basically melt that enemy, practically melt it, allowing this semi-passive, like my beasts attack, my crows attack, and I'm kind of just pew a couple of times and they're dead. And then the cooldown is reset. It's just too good of a talent to pass on, and even me, who is always advocating for the fewer buttons the better, I always say Murder of Crows is something that I do use. Post haste, again I'll mention it in the survival conversation, but post haste allows me to do those, sometimes you see them in the background, I turn backwards, I leap backwards, and I speed up. This is how I travel as a hunter, so I love that. Stomp is a passive ability to make extra AoE damage, to do extra AoE damage with your pets to the enemies that you've rounded up. Yes, a lot of people play Barrage, and yes, a lot of people rely on an extra very strong herd of stampeding animals, yeah, to hit the enemies. First of all, it means those are situational. Second of all, it means that Barrage sometimes even pulls extra adds in a dungeon or something that you don't want to do. You want as easy as possible, as passive as possible. That's why I go for Stomp. If you're like me, you will choose Stomp. Aspect of the Beast is another very straightforward, without a shadow of a doubt, most useful, most impactful thing that a Beastmaster can have. You increasing the damage and healing of your pet's abilities by 30%. Come on. That is crazy. And increases effectiveness of their extra things that they have, that they bring, the pets. And you're most welcome to explore Bloodshed, which is again another button, another cooldown. Yes, it is an extra, quite a lot of damage, but at the same time, is it worth it for me or for you while you're leveling in Beast Mastery? Absolutely not. So Beast Mastery, all in all, is the safest, the most removed from the enemy, the most reliant on the pet that takes a lot of trouble and basically allows you to just leave it to the professionals to deal with it, and your pets just eat eat everyone there. Beast Mastery is just beautiful, it's just fantastic. Now, comparing Beast Mastery to Survival, Survival is, in my opinion, without a doubt, a more fun spec to play than Beast Mastery. Yep, Harpoon is fantastic, you pull yourself to the enemy, you jump, you leap all the time, your beast is next to you, and all of that kind of stuff. I love Survival, I love how it feels. With that being out of the way, I do not think that Survival is anywhere near Beast Mastery in terms of being the best, the most efficient, the most powerful, the most secure, the best, the mostest, the bestest spec out there for hunters. Not by a metric mile. Convince me otherwise, as long as we are both respectful and we are allowed to disagree here on this channel. For newbies, for people who just want a smooth leveling experience, Survival? No way. No way. And main problem, my friends, is the fact that you are in the face of the enemy all the time. It's obvious. And even though your pet is next to you, and even though the pet also has kill command, first of all, the pet doesn't have cleave. They cannot cleave, they will not get aggro of multiple targets. Please be aware of that. Same thing, you can see here probably, especially if you look closer at the footage that I'm using in the background, you will see that even though the taunt of my pet is on, you will see that when I engage with the enemy and just land a couple of strikes, it's not like I'm producing mega DPS here, but you can still see that the attention of the mob is on me, even though the pet is taunting. Maybe for a split second the enemy turns to my pet, or occasionally they do. But in many cases, the enemies are bashing on me. I am in melee. I do not know if it's a bug. I do not know if my threat overall is higher for some reason. Once again, I do not think that I'm doing that much crazy damage. Or then, if I do, comparatively to the pet, whatever it is, basically, long story short, whatever it is, pet is not generating enough threat. On average, you are just right now seeing generic kind of context there. Me just, well, I'm not leveling, but I'm questing, and you will see the same type of behavior if you try to level as survival. You will have more fun, you will leap around, you will be in probably that a little bit more Rexar kind of mode, you know, having a weapon, melee weapon in your hands, and having all these a lot meatier, a lot more satisfying animations on the screen. But there is no chance that you would feel as secure, as confident, as face rolly in the best sense of the word as Beast Mastery would offer you compared to survival. Now, marksmanship, just to wrap up the trio of available specs to a hunter. Marksmanship is clearly built and kind of built up, I suppose, with the abilities, with the spec itself, with the particulars of the spec, in a way that it's intended to be played in a group or in a raid or somewhere where you do not have to rely on a pet. Why am I saying that? Well, if for no other reason, while there are other reasons, if for no other reason than for this passive effect of a lone wolf. It is a passive that increases your damage by 10% when you don't have an active pet. So basically, by design, this spec does not expect you to have a pet. You are, in other words, you are at your maximum potency when you don't have a pet. So that would be either specific PvP environment, maybe, that would be a raid, that would be a group where you literally just stand back and do these barrages and volleys of shots, while your tank, while your other environs kind of take care of the enemies, rather than you having to hit them face to face. I hope that this setup allows me to keep the rest of this narrative very short about marksmanship. I'm not an expert, but to me, if you don't have a pet, you are basically kind of not a hunter. You are just a mage with a bow. Need to patent that. I think that sounds great. Mage with a bow. I don't think that hunters are known to be great for not having a pet. Okay? There are lots of wonderful abilities. They're great. You know, there are excellent abilities where your multi-shots hit 3 or more targets and ricochets start happening everywhere. You can do massive amounts of damage as a marksmanship. It's not about that. This video is not about that. It's about explaining to you why Beast Mastery and even survival knock marksmanship, in my casual opinion, out of the ballpark as a solo leveling spec. For that specific purpose. We don't talk Mythic Plus, we don't talk competitive raid progression. Don't tell me about how it seems 5-10% higher than the other spec, if it does. I don't even know because I don't care. But with all the fun that definitely is in marksmanship, and that's the beauty of World of Warcraft, every spec has a bit of fun to it, in one or another way. I love the feeling and the look of rapid fire. Who doesn't want to be like a machine gunner? It's awesome, it's as close as you get to it. But for solo leveling, you can see in the footage in the background, you can see that, you know, everything bashes in your face. Yes, you have a lot of burst, you have a lot of front-loaded damage where you can kill enemies before they even reach you, you can. But it's very different, as hopefully this video has demonstrated to you in the most rudimentary, in the most casual-friendly noob form, that with a pet, things are much easier. Plain and simple. And that, on that premise alone, I'm not even going to go through particulars of what talent is much better and what talent is much worse. Once again, I've done my part here. I've kept post-haste, I kept camouflage, and everything else was I attempted to have either as punchy as possible, hence the murder of crows, talent still being here, or as passive as possible, something that does not add extra buttons. That's about it. And this is it for today, my friends. I hope I helped you kind of solidify your thoughts on Beast Mastery as the best casual-friendly, noob-friendly leveling spec for Shadowlands and the pre-patch. Let me know in the comments down below. How do you feel about it? Were you already sold on BM just like I was? Or did you need this a little bit of extra explanation, perhaps a little bit of volume, which I was hoping to offer people who are completely new to the spec? So do comment down in the comments down below. I would love to hear from you. Like the video, because YouTube algorithm loves this, and we need to promote this kind of stuff so that more people like us come to our little club, see the campfire in the woods, so to speak, and join us, and it's more fun. As I said at the beginning of the video, 2 more of the similar videos at the moment are planned. Warlock, specs, best one for leveling. If yes, then why? If not, then why? And possibly, slightly more of a maybe, the third video will be about Demon Hunters, best spec for leveling. But Demon Hunters have only 2 specs, so there will be less to say and more obvious stuff to say, which is why at the moment I'm on a fence about that one a little bit. So tell me in the comments down below if you wanna hear about that from me. Thanks very much for tuning in today. I'll talk to you soon, very, very soon. See you later. Bye.